Hello and welcome to Levant TV Headlines. Saudi Arabia, under growing pressure to account for a crush that killed more than 700 people at the Hajj pilgrimage, suggested pilgrims failing to follow crowd control rules bore some blame for the worst disaster at the event for 25 years. Russia's President Vladimir Putin said the only way to end the war in Syria is to support its existing government in the fight against terrorism. US President Barack Obama has accepted an invitation to meet Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin as a drive to revive efforts to resolve the Syrian conflict kicked into higher gear. The United Nations should investigate violations of international humanitarian law committed by all sides in Yemen's civil war, Amnesty International has said, 6 months after the start of a Saudi-led military campaign against Houthi forces. 2 Turkish soldiers and 34 Kurdish militants have been killed in an attack and subsequent clashes in the latest fighting between security forces and Kurdistan Workers' Party guerrillas. Now let's take a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting from the UAE, the Hajj Times leads, reporting that a horrific stampede killed at least 717 pilgrims and injured hundreds more on Thursday on the outskirts of the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. The paper also reports that Russia's President Vladimir Putin will meet US leader Barack Obama during his visit to the UN in New York as the US frets about a military buildup by Moscow in Syria. From Lebanon, the Daily Star leads, reporting that Foreign Minister Gebran Bassil has complained that a small country like Lebanon is carrying the burden of more than 1.5 million Syrian refugees, while a rich Europe is resisting to receive a fraction of that figure. The paper also reports that gunmen opened fire on 2 Saudi police posts in the northwest of the Gulf Kingdom, killing 2 civilians and a policeman. The Egypt Independent leads, reporting that 8 Egyptian pilgrims have died in the Mina stampede during the Hajj rituals on Thursday. The paper also reports that Egypt's Foreign Minister, Sameh Shoukry, has warned of the threats posed by the terrorist groups that resort to destroy antiquities and terrorize civilians. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines from the UK papers. The Telegraph leads its Middle East news, reporting that Israeli police will now be able to use live fire on minors and adults who are deemed to endanger human lives by throwing rocks or firebombs. The Israeli Security Cabinet voted unanimously on Thursday evening on new temporary measures which include a minimum 4-year prison sentence for adult stone or firebomb throwers. The Guardian leads its Middle East news, reporting that a Saudi prince has been arrested on charges of trying to force a worker at a Beverly Hills estate to perform oral sex, Los Angeles police have said. 28-year-old Majid Abdulaziz Al Saud was arrested on Wednesday and was released on a $300,000 bond the next day. The Independent reports that the UN has issued an urgent call for Saudi Arabia to halt the execution of a young man who faces imminent beheading and crucifixion for crimes he reportedly committed as a child. A Saudi court has upheld the sentence of Ali Mohammed al-Nimr, the son of a prominent government dissident, despite growing and high-level international condemnation. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines in the international papers. Germany's Deutsche Welle reports that Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz has announced an investigation into a stampede and crush at the annual Hajj in Mecca, in which at least 717 people died. However, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said Saudi Arabia was responsible for the stampede, claiming that improper measures and mismanagement of the Hajj were to blame. And finally, the International New York Times reports that as Saudi Arabia and its Arab allies pressed their military offensive against Houthi rebels in Yemen, Saudi diplomats were waging their own battle to fend off calls in the United Nations Human Rights Council for an international inquiry into abuses by all parties to the Yemeni conflict. Those calls came in a council resolution submitted Thursday by the Netherlands, with support from a group of mainly Western countries. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again on Monday. Bye for now.